around the world, that is, in about 100 constitutions that were surveyed, there were at least 20 countries using the federal system of government in one form or another, like Argentina, Australia, Austria, Belgium, Brazil, Canada, Ethiopia, Germany, India, Malaysia, Mexico, Nigeria, Pakistan, Russia, Sudan, Switzerland, US, Venezuela, Yugoslavia. Add to that list countries like Iraq, Micronesia, Nepal, Somalia, and South Sudan. There are also examples of countries that used to be federal but became unitary, like the Dutch Republic, now the Netherlands, Colombia, Indonesia, Czech, and Slovak Republic. While this list does not provide us with a clear indication of whether federalism accounts for its success, progress, or even its failure, we certainly do not want the GDP of Nepal, Ethiopia, or Sudan, nor do we want the security situation of Somalia, Iraq, or even Mexico. In the Philippines, we have the Local Government Code of 1991, or RA 7160, something Dr. Paul Bernstein of the Goethe Institute called an important milestone, not only in the history of the country but of Southeast Asia. RA 7160 made the local government unit the frontline agency of governance. In the Declaration of State Policy, it says that the territorial and political subdivisions of the state shall enjoy genuine and meaningful local autonomy, enable them to attain their fullest development as self-reliant communities, and make them effective partners in the attainment of national goals. How? Through a system of decentralization, whereby local government units shall be given more powers, authority, responsibilities, and resources. Here are some powers of the LGUs. They may exercise eminent domain. They may reclassify agricultural lands. They can open or close roads and parks. It has authority to negotiate and secure grants without going through the national government. It has power to create sources of revenues. It is entitled to receive the IRA, or the Internal Revenue Allotment. It can have its own programs for development and livelihood projects. It can have partnerships with LGUs, people's organizations, NGOs, and even the private sectors. In an article written by Rana and Villarete, they enumerated some disadvantages of federalism. They say federalism is divisive. Federalism promotes regional loyalties more than national allegiances. The likelihood of certain region rebelling against the national government is heightened, like in Quebec, in Canada, or Catalonia in Spain, or the breaking up of Yugoslavia are prime examples of how regionalism can divide a country. Competition among regions can be alienating. They create rivalries that challenges the sense of unity in the country. It can inflame the already tense feelings between ethnics. And we cannot discount our own separatist groups in Mindanao who will never be satisfied unless they completely broken off with the country. Federalism for the Bangsamoro may never be enough. Second, expansion of the bureaucracy. Instead of limiting the expansive bureaucracy, we will find in federalism another layer of bureaucracy, the state or regional government. Now, in order for this to run, the state needs money to pay for its official and its infrastructure. How? By raising taxes. A large and bloated government is costly. It can be difficult to oversee and inefficient. A large government is not conducive to transparency and efficiency. Separating functions between national and regional government will result in redundancy of functions. Third point, jurisdiction issues and non-uniform laws. This may create confusion. What power belongs to which part of government? There will always be a tug of war between the federal and regional or state government. When does the reach of regional government end and the national government begins? It took the US a bloody civil war and the African Americans enduring segregation to finally settle the issue in the United States. In fact, in the news, the White House is being sued by 26 states because President Obama, he was giving, it was an executive order, so they were suing him over immigration reforms or the squabble between DILG and Mayor Romualdez during relief operations after Yolanda will become more common. It would be ignoble and disingenuous for me to stand and defend the status quo. We can all agree that whatever form of government we will adopt, it will will always have its unique challenges. But short of a complete overhaul, I believe that our present unitary form of government is salvageable. It is possible to amend, to reform, to strengthen 7160, and I would caution against peddlers of snake oil selling federalism as panacea. As the fiercest proponent of federalism in the academe, Professor Jose Abueva said, a federal parliamentary democracy is not proposed as a panacea or cure-all for our myriad ills. As a nation, there is no such thing as a cure-all. We could change government systems if we want, but as Professor Randy David said, it would be nothing more but cosmetic change unless there is also substantive alteration in the distribution of resources. What we need to resolve is our fundamental governance problems. We need to enhance transparency, accountability, and efficiency in government. That is to say, reduce red tape, streamline government services, and not mere change in government structure. Thank you very much.
Okay. So, first of all, you mentioned a while ago about the concept of eminent domain being given to local governments. This is one of the inherent powers of the government, of the state, where the state can take away private property. Am I correct? Yes, of course, correct. Now, are you aware that if it is the central government or the national government that exercises its power of eminent domain, the law does not need for any more checks or for any other checks. Whereas in cases where it is the local government that exercises the power of eminent domain, there are certain technicalities that are needed. Now, my question is, using that premise, how can you say that the government is decentralized when in fact there are other prescribed processes if it is the local government that will impose the power of eminent domain?
Since the local governments serve and particularly or in this issue, decentralization, I mean, it can decide which. Of course, it has to go through those processes. Considering that we are under a unitary and strong centralized government.
Let me rephrase the question. The question is, using my example, I showed you, using that example, I showed you that there are technicalities that have to be exercised by the local government. So it proves that they are not fully decentralized. That's my point.
Yes, sir, but the idea is, it is a process. Decentralization is a process. So, maybe RA 71 would eventually be amended or strengthened to fully decentralize or to totally give to the local government the power.
So what you're saying is the amendment of 7160 and not the amendment of the form of government.
No, sir.
Okay. Next, my question is regarding the redundancy of functions. Insofar as this is concerned, you mentioned a while ago that there would be redundancy of functions, correct?
Yes, sir.
In that premise, are you aware that in the United States of America, most of the functions of the senators are to legislate laws that regard insofar as national security, national issues are concerned. So international relations, national security, and other things.
Yes, sir. Siguro, my idea here is the bureaucracy, not necessarily the senators or the legislative part of the government. When you're asking for requirements from this part of government or certain agency, then you have to ask another agency to give you those requirements. That's my idea for redundancy.
Thank you.
The proposition side. two questions lang regarding the argument of Mr. Uy. He said earlier that the federalism will provide divisive or regionalistic concept. I will debunk that concept because in federalism, there is something called a unity within the multiculturalism and the pluralistic perspective of our society. In fact, in unitary government like us, we are seeing such problems. We are seeing such problems of internal conflicts. We are seeing such problems of many high crime rates. There are some cultural exploitation. So, to Mr. Uy, can you give me some basis that a unitary government actually solves the problem of internal conflicts between cultural communities? Ayun. Maybe it's not clear to me that the unitary government does not give any concrete solutions to clear out internal conflicts. Example of resolution ng unitary government to solve internal conflicts culturally. My point is supporting details on the divisive and regionalism. Loopholes in the local government units in the decentralization perspective of the local government code. And we are actually pointing that the local government code is actually implemented in the unitary system for government. So we must impose a federal type of government to give a full autonomy to those states and those local government units to improve and develop themselves. Actually, so what's wrong with developing such local government units, or what's wrong with giving such full autonomy or full powers to the local government units for the regions or states?
For some regions, it may not satisfy. For example, the struggle for independence in Mindanao. Having an autonomous region may not satisfy the Bangsamoro. They may eventually seek secession. They may eventually secede from the country.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. So, moving on to the summary of proposition of Mr. Memoranda.
Upload ko sa YouTube.
Okay, I will continue my arguments earlier. The fourth argument will be in the political perspective. Federalism provides better democratization and good governance. In a paper presented by Professor Richard Roltalento, Northeastern University to the Philippine Political Science Association International Conference, such practice of federalism could lead to a better institutionalization of political systems in the Philippines. Imposition of federalism will alleviate the conflicts, especially in the Muslim Mindanao region, because it will provide genuine autonomy to the Muslim comrades who are struggling so long for the cultural heritage and independence. And amidst problems in the implementation of federalism in its issues such as divisiveness because of strong regionalistic principles, ambiguities and vagueness in jurisdictions, and dissatisfaction of other cultural groups, we are all for one perspective: to be with our fellow countrymen and put the Philippines into greater heights. Enough of these misunderstandings and misconceptions and repeatable reforms of our debunked and corrupt unitary system of government. Enough of those neglected provinces due to lack of fiscal autonomy and independent economic system. Enough of internal conflicts of our fellow countrymen. Enough of oligarchy, political polarization, and political warlordism in regions. Say yes to federalism. Say yes for the general welfare of the Filipino. Thank you at mabuhay ang Republikang Federal ng Pilipinas.
Good governance is concerned with the redistribution of wealth and opportunities in our country's society. Attorney Lorna Kapunan said during senatorial debate, our country's problem is not the form of government, You will not be able to solve the country's problems without addressing the fact that 13 families control 90% of the country's wealth. If you want real issues addressed, then it is not the political system that you should be barking at. Instead, you should be knowing at the determinant factor, the economic system that is unjust